A man in black walks through the empty headquarters corridors. Contact Russian Facebook. In his hand, an official letter from the Kremlin. The Federal Security Service, the secret services inherited from the KGB, demands access to the personal data of protesters opposed to Putin. The man is Pavel Durov. He reads the letter and calmly says, "I'd rather lose my company than betray my users." Days later, his shares are seized, accounts frozen, and he leaves Russia with a USB drive, foreign passport, and $300 million. He promises that no government will ever tell him what to do. Today, Telegram has more than 900 million users. It's the app that no one, not Russia, not the United States, not France, has managed to bring to its knees. A tool used by resistance fighters, traders, journalists, and sometimes criminals, led by the same man, a billionaire exile who envisions a borderless, surveillance-free internet. But wait, you might be wondering how he fled Russia with 300 million euros. We'll come back to that later, because behind the legend, a troubling question remains. Is Telegram truly a champion of freedom, or simply an empire that refuses to admit it has become like all the others? And above all, is it really possible to build an app with 1 billion users without selling your soul, either to governments or to investors? Hey, Mindset team, I hope you're doing well. Following your many requests, today we're exploring the story of a founder who left everything behind to defend an idea from outside the system. But this beautiful idea has a cost. We'll explore how in this investigation. Pavel Durov fled Russia and challenged governments around the world, from Moscow to Paris. And against all odds, he managed to escape every attempt to make him give in. We will also see why the app has become both a refuge and a danger. And finally, whether Telegram is still true to its promise, or if economic reality has finally caught up with it. Because between idealism and survival, even the freest eventually have to make a choice. Let's go. Thousands of Russians are protesting in the streets against Vladimir Putin's return to power. One repeated slogan on the signs, "The internet belongs to us." At the center of this digital rebellion is VKontakte, Russia's Facebook, founded by 26-year-old Pavel Durov. They call him the Zuckerberg of the Neva, after the river that runs through St. Petersburg, his hometown. Unlike Zuckerberg, he supports a more radical view. Technology should free people, not surveil them. A fate from December. Everything changes. The Kremlin sends him an official request. Hand over the personal data of the protesters and shut down their group. Durov refuses. A few days later, Federal Security Service agents arrive at his office. He replies by posting a middle finger on Twitter. A shocking act in a country where disobedience is costly. Tension has quietly grown for 3 years. Durov stands strong as government pressure and stricter internet laws increase. His minority shareholders are gradually bought out by groups linked to the Kremlin. State media call him a digital traitor. Engineers around him begin to leave. In 2013, he realizes that VK no longer belongs to him. He starts working on a new project, smaller and more discreet, a highly secure messaging service hosted outside Russia, codenamed Telegram. In 2014, the pressure becomes unbearable. He later sells his 12% VK stake for nearly $300 million. Officially a sale, unofficially a negotiated exile. He takes the money, leaves Russia with his brother Nikolai, and vanishes from the Russian tech scene. In his luggage, a Caribbean passport, $300 million, and a half-coded project to finish in exile. This project is Telegram. Officially, it's a basic encrypted messenger, but to Durov, it's far more. It's a revenge. I'm going to create a space that no one can control. Not a government, not a company, not even myself. But you doubt it, nothing will go as planned. The Durov brothers launched their first servers in a 2-room apartment rented under a false name. No logo, office, or official address. Not for lack of money this time. As you know, he's loaded. But because he knows the Kremlin already considers him a fugitive. He also knows that if he draws too much attention, exile could turn into extradition. So he chooses absolute discretion. No official team, no declared headquarters, just a code of silence and sleepless nights. And he has a clear idea. Telegram is not a business. It's a counter system. A digital refuge where communication doesn't depend on any state, any company, or any censorship. Durov wants to create a messaging app that's impossible to dismantle, unlike WhatsApp, which started out with a similar idea. As I mentioned in another video, Telegram lacks a center of gravity. Servers span multiple continents with legal entities in the Virgin Islands, Dubai, London, and Singapore. An intentionally vague architecture to prevent anyone from claiming ownership of the network. An engineer from that time says the idea was that even Pavel wouldn't know exactly where things were. This extreme decentralization makes Telegram a legal gray area. No jurisdiction can really demand the data. No authority can order its shutdown. It's a digital fortress, but without a king or kingdom. For Durov, true freedom has a cost. He declines investors, sponsors, and ads. Telegram relies entirely on his own wealth. Millions are spent each month on servers, bandwidth, and security. And while the digital giants raise billions, he is going to dig a gap between vision and economic reality. In 2016, Telegram reached over 100 million users with no marketing, fundraising, or ads. Organic growth, driven by word of mouth and internet users' distrust of the American giants, seen as too intrusive. However, this success brings new threats. As Telegram grows in popularity, more governments take notice. Iran, Russia, Indonesia, all are trying to block the app. We'll discuss the varied reasons later, but each time the blocking ends up as free publicity. Telegram attracts dissidents, hackers, journalists, but also traffickers, conspiracy theorists, and extremists. A haven for free expression that can turn into an uncontrollable gray area. And Durov knows it. He refuses to moderate, refuses to censor, refuses to collaborate with governments. For him, total freedom is essential. But as Telegram expands, this principle is becoming a ticking time bomb. In 2018, Telegram surpassed 200 million users. By 2020, it had more than 500 million. The world is in lockdown. Communications are exploding, and Telegram is becoming the black box of connected humanity. No ads, no profiling, no shareholders, just one promise. Your conversations are yours. But this comes at a cost. Servers cost money, users strain bandwidth, yet Durov still pays for everything himself. So, one question arises. How long can freedom be defended before it becomes unsustainable? The planet is going into lockdown, and in this global silence, one network keeps growing: Telegram. What started out as a messaging app for exiles is becoming a global ecosystem. Presidents, opponents, traffickers, whistleblowers, traders, armies, all communicate on the same platform. Maybe that's Telegram's real power. It treats heroes and criminals the same. A Telegram channel can be used to organize a revolution or to sell weapons, to transmit evidence of war, or even to plan a crime. Because everything is encrypted, it's impossible to track what's circulating or its origin. An intelligence analyst once said Telegram is like the darknet but user-friendly. As governments monitor the internet, Telegram serves as a digital free zone. Syrian journalists use it to evade censorship, while terrorist groups spread propaganda through it. Influencers gather there to sell trading signals, scams, or miracle courses. In 2021, tens of thousands of active channels aired illegal content, including crypto fraud, banned content, data trafficking, and extremist propaganda. Over 20 countries' authorities demand cooperation, which Durov refuses. I won't delete anything at the request of a state, a statement that makes him a symbol for some and an accomplice for others. Meanwhile, Telegram surged past 500 million users in early 2021. But a first crack in the myth: Telegram now displays sponsored messages in some public channels. No banners or Google-style ad algorithms, yet there are still ads. Durov says it's a minimal concession to preserve independence. And yet growth continues, with a user base today of nearly 1 billion, surpassing Twitter and almost reaching Instagram. This growth is drawing in a new type of user. The powerful, politicians, presidents, billionaires, all understand that they can speak on Telegram without relying on the media. In Ukraine, President Zelensky broadcasts his messages directly on his official channel, even in Russia. And it's quite ironic, pro-Kremlin channels use the same tool to spread their ideas. Both sides use the same app, Telegram. The information war is fought on the same platform. A former European diplomat said, "For the first time, one tool is used by both authorities and resistance." This paradox makes Telegram unique. It's now more than an app. It's a territory, a digital no man's land where rules shift with the writer. As Telegram grows, Durov becomes more vulnerable. Because by constantly placing himself outside the system, he ends up attracting the attention of all the systems. This time, the response will come from a Paris airport, not a server or a law. Moscow, Tehran, Brasilia, Paris. 4 capitals, 4 regimes, different reasons, same obsession. To bring Telegram to its knees. The Federal Security Service wants Telegram's encryption keys, but Durov continues to refuse. As a result, Russia bans the app and blocks millions of IP addresses since Telegram hides there to survive. As a result, thousands of sites go down. The internet turns to chaos, but Telegram stays online. Thanks to a digital camouflage system, Durov manages to route his traffic through Amazon and Google's networks. Blocking it would have required shutting down the whole internet. 2 years later, Moscow gave up. Durov did not. And Telegram became the first service in the world to have defeated state censorship. The Iranian regime claims Telegram spreads anti-Islamic propaganda. Thousands of young people use the app to organize protests. Result: total ban. Still, Telegram is accessible via VPNs like NordVPN. Durov stands firm, stating, "If defending privacy is a crime, we'll take responsibility." The Lula government is trying to block Telegram over electoral misinformation. But you're starting to know him, our dear Durov. He refuses to delete the channels accused of manipulating the vote. The Minister of Justice threatens to ban the app. Durov replies briefly, "We have no office or server in Brazil. Do what you want, Telegram remains." Then on August 24, 2024, a private jet quietly lands at Le Bourget. Pavel Durov is on board and is soon arrested by French police on a warrant. The charges are serious: refusal to cooperate with the authorities, complicity in the criminal use of the platform, and failure to combat terrorism. Telegram is said to be an unregulated hub for illegal activities, and Durov could be morally or even criminally responsible. Photos of the Telegram founder's arrest, handcuffed and led by French police, are everywhere, causing an online uproar. Some call it a political scandal, while others welcome the crackdown on a digital outlaw. A few days later, Durov is released under judicial supervision with no direct evidence against him, but the symbol remains. A Financial Times journalist wrote, "This arrest targeted not a man, but an idea, an internet beyond state control. In reality, Telegram has become an unmanageable paradox, too useful to delete, too free to control, and too opaque to understand. Democracies see it as a threat, autocracies as an enemy, and users as a refuge." A few months later in Dubai, Durov resumes his monk-like life. No car, no personal phone, strict vegetarian and minimalist lifestyle despite wealth. A few developers and engineers surrounded him. He often says, "I didn't create Telegram to make money. I created it so I wouldn't lose my freedom." But now that freedom comes at a colossal price. 900 million users, global infrastructure, and no stable source of income. That's where the Durov paradox becomes inevitable. How do you keep an empire free when every server, every byte costs a fortune? Telegram has become an empire without a nation, but not without bills. Telegram has never been profitable. But then, where does the money come from? Over the years, Durov invested his 300 million earnings in crypto and real estate, growing his fortune. Bloomberg reports his net worth is now over $10 billion. Most of it is based on Telegram's potential valuation, not actual profits. In other words, he's super rich on paper, but he runs a company that costs him a fortune every day. He kept that promise for years. As long as he paid for the servers, no one could tell him what to do, and he followed through. But the costs are skyrocketing. Over $200 million a year just for bandwidth and security. Telegram is becoming a freedom machine and a financial hemorrhage. A close associate tells Wired anonymously that Telegram is a beautiful utopia, but loses money with every message. In 2020, Durov takes a bold gamble. Telegram Open Network. The Telegram Open Network is an in-house blockchain meant to make the ecosystem self-sufficient. An internal currency, payments without banks, economic bots, a parallel world. In just a few months, he raises $1.7 billion. But the Securities and Exchange Commission, the American regulator, strikes. The accusation: illegal fundraising. Project stopped, money refunded, a year of work lost. Officially, Ton is dead. Unofficially, the community carries on, and Telegram gradually reintegrates Ton into its system. Payments, cryptos, bots, and integrated microeconomies revive hopes for a meaningful, intermediary-free internet, though the distinction remains unclear. Financial freedom or a new regulatory gray area? Durov doesn't give in. In 2022, a new turning point: Telegram Premium. After years of refusing any monetization, Durov finally partially gives in, $4.99 per month. Less than 1% of users subscribe. In 2024, Telegram earns just over $300 million in revenue. Yet it's still not enough. But as Telegram tries to survive, it slowly drifts away from its original ideal, one of free, endless freedom. What if the real question isn't who controls Telegram, but why? Do we all need a place that no state controls? If there's a business lesson to take from this story, my friends, it's that true freedom is being able to say no. Durov has always refused Russia, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and investors. But to keep saying no, he'll have to find a way to survive tomorrow. Freedom is not a state, it's a discipline, and it requires resources, and those resources can disappear overnight. A bit like Zoom's the king of video conferencing, which saved us all during the lockdown, which lost $120 billion due to a mistake they could have avoided, as you can see in the video that's showing.